All right, we're talking 3D printer guns. All of a sudden, this is the latest, greatest thing. We're going to arm all these people, and my goodness.
Yeah, it seems to be I was really surprised that this topic went so crazy. And I really think that both sides are overreacting. I think that the anti-gun side are way overreacting. And, they believe that, all of a sudden everybody's going to be able to, every criminal in the world is going to have access to a machine gun now that we have this technology. But I also think our side's overreacting. I'm hearing a lot of people say, well, that's, that all gun laws are totally invalidated now. And it just... I think
it's a tool.
It's a tool. You can already.
And it's not even a good tool.
Yeah,
it's a display tool. If you wanted to make something, see, here's where this 3D printing. Here we go back to the automotive world. When you've got a 1909 Vauxhall and you got to figure out how to make a bracket for it, there's no place to make a bracket if you don't know. But if you can get a picture of it, you can put it in a 3D printer, make a replica, then take it to a machine shop, and they can replicate it. That's what it's for.
Yeah, it's. I mean, people have been making firearms as long as firearms have been
without
around.
The 3D printer.
Without a 3D printer. So this is like, it's no different than they have lathes and drills, and now there's a 3D printer. But, oh, by the way, if you make it on a 3D printer, it's a piece of garbage.
Totally. It's a display piece.
Yeah, it's not a really good functioning gun. And I'm not foolish. I know that 5 minutes from now they're going to have high quality 3D printers. They may have improved materials. Maybe eventually they'll be 3D printing things in metal. But the reality is, people have been making guns for as long as guns have been around.
I know. I mean, and for you, Joe, since you shoot more than most of us, have you ever fired a 3D printed gun?
I have not. Like John was saying earlier, they're basically a one-time use type deal.
It's a throwaway gun.
Yeah, it's the barrels. I've seen some that have like they'll print the frame, and then they'll buy a barrel insert, and then so it has a stainless steel insert for the barrel.
But it's just another making a gun. That's all it is.
But yeah, that's really all it comes down to. But I think the problem is, we were talking about off air, is the ignorance of when you hear a 3D printed gun. People think, we see the memes on social media where the guy's got the shotgun sticking out of his Hewlett Packard printer, going, "Oh, my gun's about done. It's almost finished printing," or the guy that has a bunch of rifles laying on the floor says, "Oh man, I left my printer on overnight. Look what happened."
Yeah,
and because people believe that that's what's happening, that you're printing out these.
They want to believe it.
They want to believe it,
so they can have a conversation and get mad.
But really, these things, it's a piece of plastic. I think the closest thing I've ever seen in a movie was that John Malkovich and Clint Eastwood.
Oh yeah,
right.
And he gets the bullet through the metal detector by putting it in his keys, but the keys didn't go through the metal detector. Whatever. And again, it's even if you do make one of those, the ballistics on it's going to be garbage.
And wouldn't it be better just to go buy a gun?
Absolutely.
Because Gun Range San Diego's got all kinds of specials.
Yeah.
Because what's the 3D printer cost? What do you think that printer would cost to do that?
Well, it's at least, they're at least $3,000. At least $3,000.
It's a novelty thing.
Yeah.
I knew you would look.
Yeah.
Just to add to your portfolio.
Well, listen, me and technology, you can ask my wife, I can't even get a printer to print like paper, let alone a 3D printer to print a gun. So
yeah, right.
I'm the last guy.
I haven't had enough time to get printing just by my pay stub.
But it's so much easier just to go.
Well, if you ask me, it all fits into the narrative. The other side doesn't have a leg to stand on, so they have to create a hysteria.
Yeah,
the same thing. That's why Mike Schwartz did the $10,000 challenge, because of all the lying that was going on.
The gun show challenge,
and that type of deal. And my wife and I were watching the CBS Sunday Morning thing, and they had this shrine to Larry Kimmel, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel. He's a relative. That's why I don't even want to remember his name. But basically, he's talking about, the problem with America is everybody's able to wave a bunch of, own a bunch of M16s. So it's just this usual hysteria that they do. And so then this hysteria over 3D printers and everything else, it's just something stupid for them sheep to get their minds around again.
Well, so you know the answer? Start watching KUSI.
The guy that is distributing the information was on one of the Sunday shows today, and they asked him, well, how would you feel if somebody used your plans, printed a gun, and killed somebody? And, obviously that's a loaded question, and they're trying to be controversial. But my first thought was, how would you feel if somebody wasn't able to print a gun to defend themselves and was therefore killed?
Right.
That's
no, we can't go that narrative.
Those are the two different sides. There's the one side who thinks that, hey, every gun is evil and they can only be used for evil, and then there's our side that knows, hey, look, this is how you protect yourself. Tens of thousands of people, depending on the survey, it's hundreds of thousands of people use it to defend themselves, to be equal, to be safe.
And don't you think a third world country that have all the money and they never give it to their people, if this was such a great idea, don't you think they'd be buying printers and just cranking guns out left and right?
Yeah.
But again, it's a novelty thing for the gun owners to have. It's a novelty. Hey, look what I did at home. I mean, they're not aesthetically pleasing.
Oh, they're ugly.
They're ugly.
And who's going to... Here, you shoot it. I made it, but you shoot. Exactly. Joe, go ahead and shoot.
Yeah.
I ain't shooting it. Lance, you shoot it. No, I'm not shooting
this thing split apart, and it's...
No, it fits into hysteria.
It's
That's
you
just the bottom
hit
line.
around the head.
It's not way, and don't use their words, right? So it's not an assault weapon; it's a defense weapon.
That's right.
The whole deal. Don't use their words.
And don't play in their yard.
Do not play whatsoever.
Yeah,
never.
I agree.
Ever.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Because the minute you do, they think, ooh, we're right.
Yeah.
I was really surprised. Politically speaking, NBC, the local NBC show, had me come and tape on Friday, which it's playing tonight. I was just really surprised that this 3D printer issue was what prompted NBC to reach out and say, hey, we really have to cover this. It just doesn't make any sense to me, and it really is.
How'd the interview go, though?
I think it went well. I made the point that, hey, people have been building guns for centuries. Mm-hmm. These are, by the way, they're not printing guns. They're printing extremely low-quality parts that can be, combined with metal pieces to possibly make a gun. Mm-hmm. Just laying out the facts so that people really understand what's going on here.
Well, look who's listening to that television station. It's a bunch of lefties anyway. So, they want to feed into that whole thing so they can sell their advertising. The only good news is at least they called you to have some sane person to come on and actually represent the other side.
Which is
most of the time they'd mow it right over.
Yeah, which is a feather in San Diego County gun owners' cap that I'm seeing more and more stations call you when an issue comes up that's gun-related. Am I right?
Couldn't be happier, and that's a big part of what we're doing is engaging with media and educating. I couldn't be happier to have been on. I'm really glad they covered it. I'm really glad they called me, but I was just surprised.
Right.
Like, hey, there's so much else going on.
It fits right in. It's a fluff deal, and they're all about fluff. So I think it's
By the way,
perfect.
before we go, I want to one of our sponsors, Firearms Legal Protection. They're having a seminar this Friday. So for details, it's John Correa. He's a very well-known instructor. It's called Surviving the Fight, where he gives 21 lessons on how to survive a gunfight. He's watched over 12,000 videos. Extremely important information.
Can we get that info on your site?
San Diego County GunOwners.com. San Diego County GunOwners.com.
All right. Hey, we want to thank our sponsor, San Diego County Gun.
Without someone doing something about it, it's not going to get any better.